Alrighty, to start off the video before I get into the 24 hours, uh, I would like to thank Erg Verkman, who gave me free stuff to help me level up in that. He's a good guy. And I do not stream any of this at the moment. But I'm just slowly getting up the little bits to make a YouTube channel up again. I had the bare bones stuff. I recently got a job.
On
If
the
anyone
ground, pal.
wants me to continue,
You just can take this one. It's food and water only. Do you need sticks?
oh wait, Digimon World 4. If you want to see more of that, I can't produce more of that at the moment, and I am sorry. Mostly because I have a job and I would rather play a game I actually like such as this one. Oh, and it took me a bit to learn what he was trying to do. I thought he was going to give it to me for a trade, like in
Here
Path
is
of
also
Exile.
some Steam Sky.
But
Enjoy, man.
nope. Oh. Yes. I eventually realized he just dropped it on the ground, unlike Path of Exile and other MMOs I've played. This guy also gives me a bag, and I thought he was gesturing to come here and kill the ghouls. And the problem was, I just recently found some power armor. And I was trying to get all of that in my inventory situated. Alrighty, welcome to the video. This is a series of me playing Fallout for increments of 24 hours and then cutting into little bite-sized videos. And this here is my first 24 hours of experience, total when finished. Currently, this is segment 1. Audio has been recorded in multiple sessions.
A lot of people come here because of that radio message the responders left. That's what brought me here too.
For ease of recording.
Just do the training and move on, but honestly,
and
I kind of like it here.
Essentially, I had a group of small little trinkets I've been collecting for a YouTube channel, such as a very, very temperamental microphone, which I recently bought. It can only record in mono, and it's so sensitive. When on max settings, it can blow out the speakers of any video editing program I have, corrupting the audio slightly.
Which, let me tell you,
And this is my second attempt recording my third attempt recording the dialogue for this video. And to start off with, I skipped pretty much up to level 5 because that's when the baby tutorial starts, but it's like most MMOs where as you level up, the more
at least to me, the
stuff opens up to you, and then they introduce that stuff to you slowly and until you slowly become a master of the end game of the game. It's also survival, but the whole point of a survival game is to live. And I never got this, why it's such of a popular thing. I can see, the process of slowly making you be able to live in a fictional space. But
helping people no matter what. That was really important.
The point I don't get is, how come the end game in all the survival games I've seen so far, like Minecraft, The Forest, and Rust and the like. The whole point of those games is to become a living embodiment of the physical incarnation of a survival deity. It gets to a point where you have so much resources you can essentially just sell them or effectively live forever in a game. But I get the point of a game like Minecraft Hardcore mode, where all your progress is deleted. But yeah, so far, I bought this game when it was on sale as a pretty good deal, about like 65% off. So far, it's pretty good. I also bought the DLC because why wouldn't I when it and the game would cost $15? So I might as well, hey.
Reverend Delbert born and raised.
So pretty much my goal for the first 24 hours of the game was to complete the main Vault story quest, where you try to
Helping folks
see where the Overseer went off to,
open up again and take us all up anyways.
and just explore, get loot,
Most it was time.
level up and build my build,
But it
and build a really nice
at
camp,
first I thought
which is named Rick Studios. REGE, all the periods, Studios.
giving up.
If you want to come stop by and see the old camp, come on down when you see it on the map. And please buy stuff out of the vending machine. It's overfilling with redundant recipes. And I decided to level with a melee build because you need resources to use a gun, ammo. When I first start, I don't want to spend extra time procuring ammunition for whatever gun I happen to be using for the day. Because it's kind of way this game is balanced. From the history I heard, it first started. It was planned to be like a Fallout themed Rust game, but last minute they made it into Fallout 4, and then they decided to make a multiplayer mod for Fallout 4, which eventually became this game. Yeah, so I also build a little shelter here, my first shelter, and the thing is, I fuck up in the building process of it. I accidentally place stairs below the map, and it accepts it, but whenever you try to spawn it in anywhere besides that spot, it won't allow you to place the building structure no matter where you put it. Can't put the foundations on foundations like you could in Fallout 4. To hide the fact that it's hovering. Or, well, fix it so it doesn't look like it's hovering. But, yeah, so far I'm having a good time with the game. About the only complaint I can muster so far is that it takes a lot from existing games and improves on them in a way. So far, the character building, I would say, is a bit closer to almost Path of Exile in how versatile it is. But Yeah, pretty much. You can pick whatever gun you want, eventually mod it, and as long as it's a high-level version of the base gun you want, you're pretty much golden. Same thing with weapons. I mean, melee weapons. Ah, yes, there's the fuck up. Right there. Oh, and it took me a while to figure out how to scrap an entire structure and reduce it to its base components in the building menu. But I eventually found it during the 24 hours. I also, for like the first half of the recording of the recorded footage, I decided to go in blind. Get my first experience and interpretations of the game. Without spoiling any of the content via video. And then I slowly found out this game is like Minecraft in the fact that it's made to be so cryptic, if they don't tell you how you can do it, you won't be able to find out how to do it. Oh, I bet you $10,000 if you have someone who completely doesn't know what Minecraft is, beat the game without any exterior sources. Make that a fucking live stream, because a lot of people might want to see that. But, you know, it's so cryptic, you wouldn't know what to look for unless you knew how to find it. For example, a lot of developers in Minecraft recently realized no one has actually beaten Minecraft in numbers. Like only 10% of all the players who owned Minecraft Bedrock Edition have never gotten the achievement to the Nether, let alone to the end. You know, how are you going to know that if you make a portal of obsidian and use a flint and steel on it, make a portal to hell, and then find out that you're supposed to explore hell until you find a structure that spawns, that also spawns creatures called Blaze, and you kill them, get their little rods, put them in a mortar and pestle, grind it up, and take the ender pearl out of an enderman and just ferment them in the powder. Then you get Eyes of Ender, which take you to where the final dungeon is in the overworld, and then you find the portal in the fortress, end game, right there, find the portal, you also have to use the Eyes of Enders as keys to open the portal and light it. And then you just drop right in, and then you have to kill the Ender Dragon. But then, how would they figure out eventually the Ender Dragon can be killed if you kill the crystals that heal the dragon, and then, once you finally kill the dragon, that a new portal opens up to the Ender Islands, and then finds out there's shulkers, and they can kill them to make portable storage chests. You know, that's what I don't get about Minecraft. The other thing is, if you ask me, Minecraft is a little grindy. You know, If you played it before, in order to build anything, you really need a lot of time into the game in a single world to get enough resources to build anything. And the main way you get resources is mining. But mining is actually pretty boring all on its own. So, you want that diamonds, you have to go digging deep. And just making the diamonds so rare takes away from part of the game. Because you're spending more time finding the diamonds than you do using them in most worlds. Or at least a lot of mine. And then, netherite. It's better than diamonds, and how are you supposed to figure out how to even get it without a walkthrough or them literally physically telling you about it? Yeah, when you look at it, Minecraft on its own is one of the most cryptic games ever made. And it's more cryptic than some of the old arcade games. And puzzly SNES games. But enough ranting about Minecraft. The building is a lot better than Fallout 4, I will say, mostly because I have never beaten Fallout 4 because of the fucking Minutemen quest. Go help these people. Go across the entire map, kill the raiders that don't have any means of transportation or Brahmin to take away resources from that place in the sheer amount of quantity that the villagers are saying. But, this is where I fought the first player I've seen in the game was. But no, it was my first enemy holding a gun. The reason why I thought it was a player when I was playing was, up to that point, nothing held guns. And I'm still pretty close to the vault. I'm still technically in the tutorial zone of the game. Yeah, so Fallout 4, you also needed a lot more resources to build things. And they asked you to build a lot of things in Fallout 4. You know, you have to build entire towns, and I never actually truly got into it because I didn't realize Fallout 4 was supposed to be grindy and you were supposed to redo dungeons and farm things for a while. Same thing with Skyrim. How I played Skyrim is I never grinded anywhere or explored anywhere without a side quest, and I just did all the side quests until I ran out, and then I beat the game. After I play all the DLCs and do all the side quests in them. Same thing with Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3. Essentially, Fallout 4 was the least Fallout game I have ever played underneath the title, and I heavily recommend if you want to go back to and experience a real Fallout game, try The Outer Worlds. If you're still looking for like a newer version of Fallout 3 or New Vegas, because it's made by the same people, and it pretty much follows the same system, as well as not one open world, but multiple open worlds each with their own quest lines, side quests, exploration places, little nooks here and there, different secrets, different cultures, different themes altogether. And if you really like the world building, it has a lot of that. And Fallout Vault 76, you grind a lot less for resources. Hell, I actually explored places not just for the junk, but mostly caps in experience. And this is my downside with Minecraft. You know, there isn't a lot of resources you get from combat in Minecraft. Just mob drops. And a lot of the mob drops are useless. If not, useful to such of a point you can exploit it. Like pigmen, zombie pigmen farms. They're the only mob that drops golden nuggets, which can be crafted into an ingot. And same thing with a zombie farm. But a zombie farm doesn't get as many good yields as an iron golem farm. And yes. Then there's your farm animals. Their drops have uses. But when you get to the end game, the only item of the entire game that's actually useful is a pork chop or a steak. But you can also just mine for a lot of the metals, especially with the new cave update, since they added veins you can find. But I think that's coming in the next part of the patch, but I don't really care too much more about Minecraft these days. I'd rather play a game that sort of respects my time more. You know, give me more fun instead of more casual experience. And so far, Fallout Vault 76 is doing pretty good at that. And this is no review by any means. And so I was exploring and I accidentally went into that mine and realized it was a little too high of a level of a place for me. And that's the other thing with this game. It uses dynamic player leveling, so if you're level 5, enemies will scale levels alongside of you, instead of the usual, every area in the game has a mob cap, a level cap on the mobs, and all of them are the same level throughout the entire level. Oh, I found this Miss Nanny who told me a darkly funny story and gave me free stuff for it. If you ever see this event, I would heavily recommend sitting down and listening to the whole thing. And mostly because you just get free stuff. And it's really good if you just came out of the vault not too long ago.
She tried the second bowl and said, "This sandwich is too cold." Then she tasted the last bowl and it was just right. So she ate it all up. Goldilocks was now tired. So she sat in Papa Bear's chair. This chair is too big, she said.
The other bits of this RPG game is pretty good. Also, don't expect episode 2 of this series to come out soon.
Teacher,
Uh,
look out from under her.
if this gets uploaded in its full length,
So she
sure.
lay down on the biggest bed, but it was too
which
hard.
would be a total of 8
So she
hours
tried the
ish,
second bed.
if not a little less, if not a little more.
Soft. She tried the smallest
And after
bed, and it was
this
just
footage
right.
is posted,
Fell asleep.
episode 2 might be ready
Yes, and Goldilocks had left.
to commentate by then,
Naughty child,
but
and there was not a Miss Nanny to help her.
the other thing is,
After seeing the
don't
dog
expect it to come out soonish,
and sat in their chairs,
or for a while,
they
mostly
big
because
bear's bed. So the bears grabbed her.
it takes a lot of time to play this game, especially when you get 48, another 24 hours of this game. That would be a total of 4 6-hour sessions. Yeah,
Yes, dearie?
I rarely get to play that. Oh, that and a lot of people can't play this game because people found out an exploit by duping items. They could crash the server a bunch to dupe items, which is really bad for servers and people who don't want to dupe things, who just bought this game and just would love to play it. Oh, that, and they fixed that literally day of recording this audio. And they fixed the duping part, but people still have server crashes all over the place. So this week I might be playing Path of Exile. It just recently came out with a new patch. And I usually play, you can follow me on Steam, it's Edward Glynn. But make sure it's the correct one. It's the one with 3 Ds and I think 4 L's and 3 N's. But, so a lot of this game is pretty much building a build, playing with that build, and if you do it right, I know there's multiple ways you can make builds in this game, but I heavily recommend the strategy I like to do, which is build a build to what you have. And you can actually, at any point, make multiple builds on the same character. So, if you're playing it like me, you can set up your legendary perk cards, which I have not unlocked yet, to essentially make a sort of a master of all, master of none-ish character. And, or just swap out perk cards willy-nilly. Also, I kind of find using XP boosts while leveling in any game sort of takes away from the game in the manner of, in every game, especially Fallout 76 and other MMOs, a lot of your stats heavily depend on your base stats on an item. So, if you make and get a better item, then you do more damage early on. So, and that's you can also then kill the enemies quicker. And when you kill the enemies quicker, you can loot quicker. But this game is heavily dynamic to your character's level, and the items will drop according to that. So, especially in the early game where there is not a lot of resources to allow you to progress in the game. Wait, I completely forgot why I was talking. Oh, and that was just a bug with the render there. The software I use sometimes lags if you put too much footage in it, and when you speed it up, it lags and doesn't get the full number, but shows you that it's
Welcome, citizen.
a
I am authorized
3-digit number, but
to
it's actually a
trade
2-digit
supplies.
number, and renders that way. But it demos it like if it was the full number. It just doesn't save it correctly if you render it sometimes.
I am authorized to trade supplies and equipment.
So, yeah, this game is heavily dependent on your character's level, and thus the enemy difficulty is scaled based off of your character's level.
Resupply.
And in the early game,
citizen.
a lot of your stats completely depend on your gear. And by not using XP boost, you do take longer to level up, but as the return,
Stock
you get more
up
chances
now
of better
while
loot
supplies
for your
are
ability to
available.
level faster. So it's sort of one of those slower and steadier wins the race when it comes into the consumption of resources, that is.
Now trading
So-
for supplies, ammunition, and gear.
I originally meant to times the vendors by 3, but sometimes it reduced it by 1/3 instead. You know, added more frames per
Don't
second
face the wasteland
to make it
without
longer.
the proper supply.
because it's playing 1/3 of the speed. So when I fixed that, I turned a 30% times into a 100% times by 300 timings it like I originally wanted the base video to be, but
other supplies available.
if I
here.
did it 600%, it would have actually crashed the program. And hopefully this audio is being recorded perfectly this time. Still learning of how to set up the microphone. It's a fickle bastard, if you know what I mean by that. And the segment's almost over. Mostly because I'm about to enter and beat the first major dungeon in the quest line of the Overseer's quest line. Also, I hated the fact that this area just keeps respawning these guys every time you enter and exit that building there. Might be a good way to grind for legendaries, though. For early level. Matter of fact, I'm starting off the first the next 24 hours in the second episode. Getting some good leveling legendaries to make the leveling a bit better, because I've been running stock vanilla level 1 non-legendary gear for an entire 24 hours, and just before I go in the next areas, I want to be ready for all of it, mostly because super mutants hurt like a bitch. And they're one of my least favorite enemies in all the Fallout games, because they do a lot more damage, they have higher DPS, but they're also tankier, so they end up doing more damage than a normal humanoid enemy. Also, I never got to the point of adding enchantments to, modifiers in legendary weapons in games like Fallout 4, 76, and Minecraft, where the modifier increases the amount of damage dealt to targeted species of enemy. For example, this lead pipe does 40% more damage against ghouls. It's useful when you're fighting ghouls, but every other time when you're not fighting ghouls, it's a dead weight. So why not just have a regular weapon at that point? And for the longest time of these 8 hours I edited out of the 24, I'm using the shredded machete for a lot of the leveling, because just how good the stats were, and the fact that the machete kept leveling up alongside me. I could easily make a level 5 one after I hit level 5, and then 10 and 15, but then the machete stops leveling from there. So, and that's the other thing, they added tiers to existing weapons. Same skins and everything, just different, better numbers. But some weapons don't go above a certain level, like the machete. It literally stops at level 10 to 15. So if you find a better one-handed weapon, by the way, this build is a scrapper build. I built myself as I played without any build device, but so far from what I've seen in the builds, build guides and the like, it's pretty easy. If you want to play in power armor, scale power armor perks. If you want to play heavy guns, scale heavy gun perks. But power armor and heavy guns go hand in hand for a lot of the stats. And essentially, this scrapper melee build is low cost and effective at grinding. And that's essentially what I needed, when you first start in one of these MMOs. You just want a lot of resources. So, to be able to carry a lot more resources like junk, you can sell it to the vendor and make caps, and then use those caps to buy blueprints to make your camp better. And that's essentially for the main theme of the majority of the series, for leveling, my character at least, is just building up caps to buy plans to upgrade my camp. So, yeah, looks like on film I am level 7 so far. And if your guys are looking to start up your own YouTube channel, I heavily recommend Move Via Video Studio. It's a really good beginner's video editing software, and so far, the people who own it actually update it regularly whenever bugs pop up here and there. And they plan, and that's one of the reasons why I recommend it. Once you buy it, you're not going to need to upgrade it. It's going to upgrade itself over time, at least, so far at least. And I just hated, I know one of the first video editing softwares I got off of Steam literally self-destructed itself after years of use. The menus wouldn't load anymore after a while, and then because Windows 10 wasn't compatible with the UI in the video editing software, it's one of the stupidest software messes I had to deal with. And I eventually came to a conclusion saying, fuck it, get a different one, see if this one breaks, and this time look at reviews on it to make sure it won't break, and reviews recently made, not ones made when the program first came out. Also, I don't play with music while recording, mostly because, from what I understand, all the Fallout games have copyrighted music. And a lot of you, this one is the very first Fallout game to have the option to mute all copyrighted music and radio sounds from the environment. So, like in Fallout 3, you had a character named Moriarty who had a bar, and they would play radio music on the radio in there, and there was no way you could turn it off without pissing them off, and they turn it back on for role-playing reasons. But for making YouTube videos, well, that's the other thing. They didn't think of people who make video game streams and YouTubes, because YouTube became very popular after the games were made originally. So Fallout 3 and New Vegas didn't have that option slider, let alone Fallout 4, till Bethesda realized, oh, maybe this game we should have that, because it's online games bring on more streamers and YouTubers than single player games. So we might want to, well, put this option in the game to make it easier on copyright. Because the last thing we want to do is make the people who want to make money off of giving us free advertisements, just give them an ability to do that easier without legal lawsuits or anything. So a lot of this episode I watched, a lot of this 24 hours, I rewatched Red vs. Blue, which is a pretty good indie cartoon on YouTube. It starts out as a funny, a pretty funny, sarcastic experience, and the longer it goes on, it just gets more philosophical. and the jokes are really good. And they really mastered the rule of threes in jokes. And if you want to make a good comedy, I heavily recommend taking a look at that series because it is an indie cartoon and deserving of more views, in my opinion. It's made by Rooster Teeth. The same people who made Ruby. Oh, and a lot of the footage I did record, I didn't know that I was over encumbered a lot of the time, and I didn't know how to drop items at the time. So I couldn't drop items I didn't want. And the thing is, I was picking up a lot of items, mostly so I could scrap them, to turn them into resources I could use to build my camp later, and or to sell in bundles for caps to make my camp better. And so far, the gameplay loop is better. Oh, this is the point where I realize the corpse I looted that had the key card, and I looted the body empty, didn't have the key card in the inventory of the dead body, but it was placed in the hand of the dead body, and most other dead bodies in the game, you don't have to look directly at the thing they're holding and pick it up because you can just pick it off their dead body. And it's that way in a lot of Fallout games. They always put the the identification card in the inventory of the corpse, not on the corpse. So that's what got me there, and I had to figure that out for about like half an hour till I realized, oh wait a minute, I never picked up the key card, despite emptying the dead body, holding the key card. Also, a lot of the, you know, I really like these, the whole entire Fallout franchise because it really gets the urban exploration type vibes off of it. You know, I used to watch those videos before I found out about Fallout, which is literally a game that takes place in abandoned urban buildings. And a really good one is This Is Dan Bell, but he recently stopped urban exploration, his urban exploration for two other series. One is called Dead Mall, and he goes around the world taking footage in dying malls.
Must be pretty good to have gotten past all those mutants.
You know, malls getting,
Come to pay your respects.
I mean, that are so far behind modern times that a lot of the stores aren't even open in them anymore, and a lot of the ones that are just mom and pop shops, just sitting
That's good.
in the middle of an empty
Going
mall.
to honor the memories of those we lost. I got a brother around here somewhere.
Yeah, I heavily recommend that. Another good
Somewhere else.
video series he does is
All I know,
Another Dirty
one of
Room.
those responders came to check on him. It was a few years too late, looks like. Now, I'm just marking time while the cancer.
Also,
eats me up
what I have to say about
In
that
the end,
QR
we
code
must
is
escape our fate.
it makes just as much sense as rubbing aloe on the back of someone's neck because their toe got shot off.
That's just the kind of
And
thing.
if you can tell
Marcus
me
would
what
say.
that's a reference to in game,
I
if
just
you
look
ever
out for
meet me
myself.
when I'm making episode 2,
His life count
go
for
ahead and
something?
say so.
I don't really know.
But like I
Even the
said,
other
this week
responders
is
say
mostly
about
going to be
folks, but they
recording
all died
audio for
eventually. Now they all
these
dust in memory.
videos, and in my free time I will be playing Path of Exile for a bit.
Anyway,
Mostly
guess you
because
must
the
have
servers
ran along long
just
enough
keep
by
dying.
now.
And
What can this old man do for you?
Fallout 76 is one of those games that you can only play binge playing. You know, you don't want to stop too early because
What would
then
you
you
like
don't
to
get
know?
enough done. So you just play it for an entire 6 hours and then call it done.
Well, I don't figure
Because
out as much how dangerous this place is. One of those mutants don't
there
get
is a
me.
lot of
Yes,
content,
it will.
and
But I guess
I'm
what
trying to
keeps
catch
me
up on that
just
content
knowing this
as
is
I
where my
play.
brother died. Call me a superstitious
That
old
and
fool. I want my spirit.
the reason why there isn't going to be any Digimon World 4 for a while is because I would be rather playing a game I like instead of one that feels like a chore,
You be safe out there.
because I recently got a job. And this is a little side hobby of mine, which I hope you guys like watching. Oh, I also have a good capture card I found on Amazon. If I remember, I'll put a link in the description for it. But I didn't realize the time and date schedule was actually baked into the recording before I recorded 24 hours of it. In episode 2, well, not episode 2 in case this gets in multiple parts, but
Overseer's log, Morgantown.
day 2 of
I used to
Fallout
fly under
76.
nonsense, taking flight lessons. Now it feels like I walked into a nightmare.
But, yeah, I heavily recommend Path of Exile if you're a Diablo fan,
Kept quiet. They didn't
or you just want to experience a good MMO or a good game that's AAA quality, that's multiplayer,
ones that used to be human.
and it completely caters to the player's community over the frivolous
Stay like that.
desperosity of getting the green out of your wallet
From the
with
inside
your
out.
back turned.
Vesuvius in reverse.
I'm getting at it's 100% free. You can play the entire game, including endgame content,
And then I
without
got my
putting a
answer.
single dime in the game.
Swooped down from the
But if you
sky.
want anything to make the game look better, or any of the things you can do, like dancing, you have to pay for that.
We need to consider
So
all
if you want
our
your character to dance,
options.
you can only do so if you buy the privilege to have
Find the source
that
of this source
specific
light
type of character
and wipe it
dance.
from the map before it can leave Appalachia. But first things
But
first,
this league looks a little
Hamlet
interesting.
went to us.
I might, and the thing is, I don't plan on streaming any video games anytime soon.
I'm going to pick up their work.
Uh,
You should too.
I have a 5 terabyte hard drive. That's external variety, which I've been storing all this footage on, then editing, and then commentating over. And it looks like we're almost done with this segment here, about 15 more seconds before I have to say goodbye. Well, I guess I just did, didn't I? But I think that's it for now. Hello. Welcome back I'm back from to continue recording audio for the series. It's been a day since the previous audio recording. and this here is section 2, and pretty much a good chunk of this is actually devoted to a montage of building the main structure of my current player home, named Rig Studios, which up to this point you can actually come over and visit and see how it's changed. That, and as the series continues, I'll still have little build montages where I add more to it. And pretty much the vast majority of what I wish to do in this series is to keep making this base better. I also didn't use any of the Atom Shop skins that make building structures look slightly better. One of the reasons why was I didn't want to put any money into this game once I first bought it until I found out if I liked it or not. Kind of like Path of Exile, it took me a couple of years before I actually started putting money into it, because it just got better as you play. Same thing with this game, it just gets better the more you play it. I also installed all the crafting stations in this new structure, and I tried to make everything look nice. I also tried, I wanted this balcony look, but the only good thing for that was fence. And the best looking fence was from the Atom Shop, so I just used a regular fence. Later on, I completely replaced it with an Atom. Wait, I shouldn't talk about that. That would be spoiling what happens later on in this video. You don't want to do that, do you? Unless it's, you know, the just basics of what's going on currently in the video. Now, one thing I will say when you first start the game, it's really hard to collect and find generators to get electricity. You know, I didn't expect them to just hand them to you, but they give you the crappiest one to start off with, which only has 5 electricity to its name, and it's loud. And when you have 15 of them, they're even louder. So, I also realized I could put turrets in here, make my base self-defend itself from basic enemies. And, you know, later I'm going to have to upgrade all of them to the next tier once I find the fucking blueprint. And, something I just noticed when just building, no matter where you are, you can just hear explosions off in the distance and gunfire. And especially where I put my base, because it's a high traffic player area. Well, after I built this base, I found out one of the best places to grind for junk is literally 23 miles away from, about 32 feet from my house, if not yards. But you can get there in like a minute and a half of walking in that direction. But yeah, I thought it looked pretty nice as a little starting home so far, and I just keep adding more to it, more features to make it look nicer. Also, one of the annoying things of this build so far would have been the fact there wasn't any stairs that properly fit in that gap, so I had to use a ramp. Oh, and I've gotten this structure for a quest, but I couldn't beat the quest until I had electricity. And how you get electricity is if you just go ahead and find the blueprints that give you electricity, or you can follow the main story to get the shittiest generator you can for the moment. Also, I found out you can grow crops, but the only way you can benefit from them without using fertilizers is if you have a mini fridge from the Atom Shop, but that's a huge crock of shit. Why not? Why have it be an Atom Shop exclusive thing? Just add, a shitty one that takes up a lot of electricity. That's just as good, and it gives the players the same amount of benefits. Same thing with the robot the robot explorer that passively gives you junk by just wandering around the area and picking up any loose junk. I also took a long look at all of the things I could learn to get, place around my little haven here. Also, there's the shop. It's right there. You literally spawn in looking directly at it as well. If not, usually the first time you spawn here, you kind of clip through the wall and fall out of the map. Every person that is fast traveled to this place, the very first time they do so, they literally fall out of the map and then get recorrected. But once they get recorrected, they're literally right next to the shop there. Also, I remember putting that kind of ammo sign right there on the machine, but it just sort of disappeared. And I don't know where it went off to. It's not broken. It doesn't pop up to be repaired or anything. Also, part of the controls for the building was covered up by the numbers there. For the date I mentioned is not correct by any means, and got baked into the video earlier. And a lot of the troubles I had with building was literally not being able to read the controls underneath that number, which I thought was only there when recording and not baked into the final video. And I kind of went with the church style roof. I like my roof to be big, open, and I wanted to give it a point. on the top to make it stand out a little bit more. Oh, and building this just gave me a lot of seasoned stuff. Oh, there's the christening right there. Rick Studios right there, big and bold and proud on the map. And yes, I gave it the church icon for obvious reasons. And I heavily recommend headphones made by Grudo Labs. They're really good for surround. They have really good surround sounds settings built into them. They're well optimized for that. If you haven't played a first-person shooter with these, with proper surround sound, you haven't played an FPS, you can actually hear which side the enemies are attacking you from, and then shoot them or beat them with a stick. And that's the end of the building montage.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby deputize any and all armed citizens to quell this impending riot. Grafton Steel is a major
Right about
contributor to our
now,
campaign.
the game
Welcome
should.
to Grafton.
Yep.
I bet you weren't expecting a computer to
Now
be
we're.
Unfortunately, you are a
Oh, hold
bit
on.
early for tourist season.
No, I think that's a bug. My recording is showing that it's like 15 seconds ahead of the video. But I try to do this quest right here before I found out it's like a level 23 zone.
And the Black Bear Hunting Lodge. Go out there and get each one of them ready. I'll wait here because I don't have legs and I can't.
Oh yes, this is one of the first NPCs that many people really were pissy about, which was a lot of the NPCs were actually just terminals that were stationary and didn't move around or add any building or lore to the game. World building, that is. So, a lot of these terminals just give you shit they can't do, and they want done. And about here is when I first started fighting, is when I first found out that I was under-leveled for the area. Well, when we get to the first combat, that is. Also, the one thing I don't like about this game, every time you log in, it selects all of the quests on the map and tags them on your compass. Every time you log out and log back in. Just a minor gripe. I would like a lot of my quests to be off, and then I can toggle the one and only one I want toggled. In my opinion, that's actually how you should play this game if you want to do side quests, is to be able to turn them off and on. And I kind of followed this guy around and realized how underleveled I was. I don't know what gun he's using, but it's definitely a big gun, and he's in power armor running around here. I also don't think he gave me a gift or anything noteworthy. He just was there when I was at the same time doing the same quest too. And yeah, this character that I'm currently playing doesn't use a lot of guns, but if you want to get loot, you have to kill the enemy or do significant damage to the enemy to get loot, or at least to attack it within 15 seconds before it's done. So, if I wanted to get any of the loot off of these enemies, I had to pull out a gun and, well, I try to get some loot by shooting them. But, yeah. I actually kind of like the robot designs in this game. Hell, if you ask me, the best DLC in Fallout 4 was the Automatron DLC. And one of my favorite things to do in Fallout 4 was actually use a mod to allow you to have more than one companion at a time. And just make an army of 5 specialist robots that all followed at the same time, each one covering the other one's weaknesses. And a 6th one I named Charles. Captain Charles, who was literally just a sentry bot. I only took out when I was outdoors. And I also had another mod that allowed you to teleport companions to you, and whenever I felt like it was a situation to need him, I would pull him in and make him part of my team, and then when he was getting in the way, I used it to dismiss him and then just make him go away. Like, indoors. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, sentry bots are literal cancer in the Automatron DLC. And if you don't believe me, there's this guy who made a robot review series of every possible robot you can make in the game that wasn't hybrid, and he goes on and on about all of the problems with the sentry bot. And how Mr. Handy, the Mr. Handy robots were actually one of the best, and the Assaultron. But that's only if you're going by canon stock gear. The Robo-Brain, if you're going by Gatling guns, it's essentially a really good high DPS mini sentry, which can go indoors and not take up any space. Yeah, I think that was probably the funnest I have ever had playing Fallout 4, but I never beat it because just how grindy it was. You know, that and my computer died and had to be rebooted, and the mod pack I made with all the mods that I had installed and on at the same time as that game were also deleted, but it saved the save file, but none of the mod information. So if I wanted to continue that game, I had to rebuild all of the mods, the entire mod list from scratch, and hope I didn't miss anything. And that's if I didn't accidentally corrupt my saves by adding a mod that literally killed one too many times, and it literally fried my graphics card. So essentially I said, okay, modded Fallout 4 isn't something I can play right now, because it just killed a computer. And I replaced the part with an exact same part. And let me tell you, it's not, the computer parts are still pretty expensive. I think that's a legendary pistol from one of the season things, season rewards. Oh, this is when I tried a gun for the first time, and I put on a Plumber Expert, which buffs pipe weapons, like a pipe pistol.
This is a top priority message. Radar has spotted an inbound cargo bot.
And I did this entire quest with it until it ran out of ammo.
But the cargo bot's going to attract attention, so get ready for a fight.
And then I pretty much realized ammo is a bitch in this game, because it's literally the one thing you need to ever use your guns. But yeah, speaking of that, I think Fallout 4 would actually be much more playable if you gave yourself infinite inventory. And this little quest here was a simple guard the spot and get good resources you can use to help you level. So why wouldn't you? It's also a daily one, so I can just come down here, do this mission every time I need stem packs and purified water. Oh yeah. That Scorch Beast just flies overhead, and I know that's one of the endgame bosses. And I almost shat my pants because I think it saw me, but nope. It was going somewhere else. But yeah, seeing one of those when being this low level in the game, no matter what level that Scorch is, it can still kick your ass. Especially if you're primarily a melee build. Because of obvious reasons, you can't, hit something when it's in the air, can you? It has to be grounded, so you can belt it with a pipe or a machete a couple of times. Also, this is a fully automatic pipe gun. And one of the things I heard when playing this, they recently just nerfed all of the non-automatic rifles because they were so good, they were outcompeting automatic weapons. So they nerfed them so hard, they made it so that they did the same exact damage as a full auto, but they're nerfing it. They nerfed it too hard. If you ask me, I feel like automatic weapons, they should be more powerful, because of their higher DPS, but I feel like the snipers should be, well, actually about the same amount of damage per bullet as an automatic weapon, but it's one of those balancing things. Automatic weapons have higher DPS, but you want your snipers, which also have a large reload time, to have a higher hit per shot using the same same ammunitions. But they sort of nerfed it so hard, it did the same amount of damage as an automatic weapon bullet. But, yeah, yeah, and, I also just want to get a taste of how, the gunplay is. It's actually pretty good. I might actually build a rifle build if I get a legendary, a good legendary automatic rifle. If that drops. But at the moment, I only keep finding legendary melee weapons.
Attention responders. Cargobot is now on final approach. Eyes to the
And
sky, people.
legendary big guns. But yeah, big guns build is also another one that's on my list, definitely. But the thing is, I'm going to use the universal legendary perk template, which I'm going to make myself. You know, master of none. But I'm a specialist of many is far better of a master of one, but a master of one is better than a master of many, because a master of many is not a master of any, and a master of a master of one is only good when you need that one. So if you go to a blacksmith who specializes in swords, and only swords, you're going to get a pretty damn good sword. But if you want to get a horseshoe done, well, fuck you. So a blacksmith who makes multiple things is oftentimes better than a specialist, utilitarian-wise. And, you know, this game here, it's all about resource management, and I kind of like the idea of just using a build catering to resources I have an abundance of, and playing with that, and then swapping it when I run out of resources, continue playing like that. And if you ask me, probably one of the worst things that Fallout 4 did was, well, make power, the complete changes they made to power armor. It has to be mounted to a frame, and now you have to load it with batteries to keep it going. But I actually kind of agree with the change, because the best armor in all the Fallout games was always power armor. So if you completely change how power armor functions, like you did in Fallout 4, you can completely rebalance it from just being a better full body suit than full metal armor. But, yeah, that new League of Path of Exile is pretty good so far. Heavily recommend you to play Path of Exile if you haven't before. Because it's totally free. You can literally beat the entire game and the end game without putting a single fucking dime in it. So why wouldn't you play it? They added this new Reaper and a spell version of Dominating Blow, which I can't wait to start playing with. I'm in the middle of getting those two things. As of now, I've literally just started in Act 1 of that game. But the thing is, Path of Exile is one of those games which you need to stream because a lot of the footage won't look right if you edit it. That and people really like live interactions with Path of Exile. You know, watching Ziggy D drop a Tabula Rasa after he kills the very first mini-boss in the entire game. Oh, they also made the game more difficult, which, if you ask me, I feel like the last couple of leagues, they kind of made the game too easy. But now they may have made it a little too hard, but they always wanted Path of Exile to be a hard game. They didn't want to make it easy. And I have never played hardcore mode because, you know, in a lot of Diablo games like Path of Exile, you just find yourself dying randomly. So, especially while leveling. And I don't feel like playing hardcore, which one of the best strategies is just to grind until you're able to not die when progressing to that, pick a spot and grind for a while for an item like a Tabula Rasa. But yeah, I'm also having fun with Fallout 76 whenever I get to play it. Like I've been saying, it's one of those games you can't play unless you play in a massive setting. You know, sit down. And I've just been busy the last couple of weekends. That and I've been trying to record the audio for this series, which also takes up a little bit of that playtime. But like I said in the previous section, I'm still waiting for them to fix it so it doesn't crash every half an hour to 15 minutes. So I'm just waiting for them to make the game better. Well, not... I'm waiting for them to make the game not explode every couple of hours, if not minutes. But, yeah. I also, a lot of the thing I realized what I did in a lot of my playtime is literally just before I leave my house. I just get some good glamour photography of it by going in circles and just looking at it. That and I also often forgot to do things like scrap weapons in my early days of the game. My first couple of hours. As well as move things into the storage. You know, one of the worst experiences you can ever have in this game is you get inside a dungeon, and halfway before you get out of it, you realize that you forgot to empty your loot out from the previous dungeon, or you didn't have enough room from your last dungeon to actually loot this new area. And you know, I just like the whole looting factor and how you get better at this game. You just explore and get loot as you kill things. You know, there's no better open game design than Fallout 4 and Vault 76 in how players can choose to level up. You know, you could either go with doing daily missions until you level up, or if you're a new player, you just pick a direction, go that way. Hope you don't die a lot. Path of Exile is more so one of those games where there's a lot of skill involved in it. So, and the thing is, with a lot of the Fallout series, there isn't a lot of skill either. In all the Fallout games, literally the most skillful it gets is item management and inventory management. But what I will say is, a lot of the difficulty in all the previous games is surviving while doing quests. You know, that's how I played Fallout 3 in New Vegas. Just doing, going around doing side quests, not really grinding too much, unless it was a side quest. Oh, it looks like I went AFK here and didn't cut it out. If I don't move for a minute, I'm going to have to cut it. But yeah, like I was saying, Vault 76 definitely has less of that so far. You know, having an immersive built world with history and backstory. And Fallout New Vegas and the Outer Worlds, from what I hear of Outer Worlds, is really good at that. Same thing with Fallout 3. I know the Fallout games before Fallout 4. You know, they had this really nice built world with history and all of these itty bits sprawled about the land, stories they thread together and find the pieces. You know, just all the Fallout games have that feature, but Fallout 4 sort of lost that because they gave the player the ability to build settlements. And it sort of took away from the base game, in my opinion, because it was literally a resource sink and time sink. And you just spent too many of those resources and time building in those games. In that game. Just all your time is being sunken into settlements and settlement defense for a lot of the game. And hell, I kind of I haven't done this myself, but from what I hear, you actually get a lot more mileage if you play as the Nuka World Raiders and take over the Commonwealth. Never meet Preston Garvey at all. Don't even do the story quest for that. And then side with the Minutemen before you beat Fallout 4 and just take over the Commonwealth as the Minutemen, liberating it from the Raiders. And then build an army of automatron kill bots and just attack all of these settlements you fortified for raiders and liberate the ones you enslaved. You know, I think that would actually be a really fun campaign. Just build a save file and just make your own little campaign that way. Your own levels. Make defenses specifically built. Oh, that's the first time I died in the series of my recording of this. Oh yeah, this is about the point where I started to run out of stim packs and looked up a guide on how to get stim packs. But then, just before I can start farming for stim packs, 2 people just give me a shitload of them. And I thank you for that, because it's mid-game when you start getting the ability to craft stim packs. So the only way you can actually get stim packs early game is if you buy it from vendors or find them. And I invested in the perk that lets you find stim packs more often to help the early game, and so far it's pretty good. By the way, I don't plan on gifting stim packs quite yet. Mostly because I have a big enough buffer to start, finding more stim packs as I use them. But the other thing is, I don't want to re-gift a gift, and a lot of the stim packs I do have currently aren't the ones I found. A lot of them are actually still stim packs that were gifted to me. So maybe by the end of episode 2 I'll start giving stim packs out. And hopefully after the 48, I know episode 2.
To trade for goods and supplies.
Alrighty, this is the segment where I pretty much did a lot of, found out there were daily quests, and I was around the earliest level to do some of them. This one is one of the easiest ones you can do. Protect the Protectron from the ghoulies, and then when he's done doing his round, he just gives you meds, like stim packs, which are pretty useful when you don't have stim packs. So I pretty much did, since I recorded all of this 24 hours in multiple sessions, since I started to do daily missions to try and recoup some of my resources from just exploring and looting, trying to get my base good.
Initiate testing.
I've
Routine.
also
Warning.
invested in the perks
Defensive
that allow me to
systems will be
find
offline during
stim
the
packs
test.
much easier,
Please
as well
ensure
as
no harm comes
other
to this unit.
health-based medicine like Radaway and I think Radix. Oh, and Disease Null. Or Fear. One of those. So... yeah, I also kind of like some of the lore of the creatures and the monsters you face in the wasteland.
Safe room secure
The
and
ghouls are actually probably the most iconic of the entire
to the
series.
next destination.
And they're sort of the most eerie of the enemies, in my opinion. Essentially, they're people that have been irradiated to such a degree that they became immune to radiation and started to fall apart physically and mentally. A lot of the cartilage fell off.
Responders today.
And some, but very few, gained a resistance to going feral due to prolonged brain damage and brain cancers caused by the radiation. And they've become, feral animals in the skins and bones of flesh of humans. And they seek out sources of radiation because it both heals and soothes them. And they hunt pretty much anything that makes noise because that thing's usually alive and thus has meat. And if you ask me, probably one of the reasons why they attack beyond getting the protein, I think they're also after more so the fats, because the brain, the body runs on fats, not proteins. Proteins is what the body uses to repair damaged proteins. So, considering that the feral ghouls don't have any, fat on them, they're mostly skin and bone, it's most likely because they have something akin to rabbit fever. It happens to people who don't, got stuck in the wild and they could only hunt and kill rabbits and lean meat creatures.
Scanning responder.
Like deer,
emergency supply.
animals with very little
Location
fat.
in
The human body
Alarm
runs
system
off of fat.
detected. Initiate.
It burns
interface.
a lot of fat breaking
Interface
down
secure.
proteins.
Initiate.
So if
testing.
you only
Routine.
eat protein
Warning.
for a while
Defensive systems will be
with no
offline
fats
during
or
the test.
no added
Please
fats or
ensure
starches,
no
sugars,
harm comes to this unit.
the body will have a hard time processing it. Because it has to burn away the existing fat in the system to burn, to cook off the nutrition from the protein. Because it takes more resources to break down meat than fat. So the ghouls are more so looking for the fat. Also, they carry around random things, and that's one of their gimmicks in Fallout 4. They just carry random junk. That sort of followed to this one. And one of the reasons, lore reason is, some ghouls have developed an attachment of some of the items that they carry in some manner. Like,
Need you.
an echo of
Morgantown.
their previous selves. You know, like, oh, I'm going to need the super glue later. I'm going to carry it, but that's the person part of them talking. Oh, and this is where people start showing up. Literally, when it's two of the, 2/3 from completion.
Responders.
And this is one of the only, I also cut out a lot of redundant daily missions. For example, I did this one 5 times, and I felt like, putting me doing this mission 5 times in the video was not worth the time to commentate over. So, yeah, that's just my little interpretation of the Feral Ghouls.
Detected. Beginning search.
Oh, that, and they've been around for a long time. And they just sort of started to degrade. That's why a lot of them are pretty weak. And ghouls are a pretty easy enemy to kill off early game in a lot of Fallout games.
Alarm system.
But as you level up, they sort of become one of the hardest and most feared of the enemies. Hell, Fallout 4, the only
systems will be offline
way that it was actually fun to fight ghouls was if you stood on top of a car. And before they fixed the bug, essentially cars are a damaged entity, not a stagnant prop, despite it not being moved easy. But mostly because you can damage it, and they have to explode when you damage them. In Fallout 4, so they're counted as an entity. And the ghouls, having AI before they fixed this bug, couldn't understand that you're just standing on top of a car when they thought you entered no-flip mode and started to avoid you because you're cheating. It's interesting, you know, that they even have AIs for mobs when the player goes into cheat mode.
Please consider helping those in need.
Oh,
your
also at the moment, there's a bug with lunch boxes. They're not giving the proper amount of experience bonuses. But, yeah.
Safe distance. Responders. Operation in progress. Patrol routine.
So.
Start level low. Shutting down for recharge. That reminds me. And, you know, in Fallout 4, one of my major gripes with it was that there were crafting stations everywhere. Practically everywhere. And there were also special spots that had one of every crafting station just free and open to you. but it wasn't connected to your place where you stored all of it, so why use it when you can just fast travel home and use yours? And you can keep your loot there and use it there. You know, put all of it in one spot. But that also increases the chance of you being raided depending on what you put in there. Like, if you put a lot of food items in there, you're going to get more raids. A lot of water, you're going to get raided more. And just a lot of how the settlements worked in that game. All the calculations were slightly convoluted. Like, your attack rate, I mean, the rate that you get attacked at a settlement is all the food and water items you have in your workshop added together, and then divided by 10, and that would be the loot value, if memory serves correct, for the enemies. And every defense you had was a defense value, and if I added to a risk value, you know, how risky it would be to loot that place. And this is also how it would determine if your settlement's good enough to win against the raid. So if your risk factor is high compared to the reward. Oh, this is appears to be the second time I did this, but I cut to the end of it, if memory serves correct. Yeah, I think this is the end of it. But, yeah. Well, wait, I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. So the enemy would take the values of risk and reward, and if the risk was lower than the reward, then they would, well, obviously go loot, or try to loot, and claim the reward. But your defense value also
donate your excess supplies to the
I mean, if your defense value is higher than your lootability score, then you'll that settlement would be less likely to be raided. But there's also still a small chance that stupid people will come and raid it and all die due to the defenses. Alrighty, yeah, that was the end. So, yeah, so far, what I played of this game is good. I definitely want to continue playing it once they fix some of the problems, and currently, oh, yeah. I don't understand why that happens. That just randomly happens to me sometimes. I don't know if it's like a bear trap I walked in. My feet aren't broken. It only does 5 damage random. I just take 5 damage randomly. For no explained reason. And I don't know why.
Ah, what a magnificent place this once
was.
was.
An NPC.
The very epicenter of learning here in Appalachia. Truly, nothing is as valuable as a good education.
Speaking of which, I've actually found this TV series called The Appalachian Hunters on Discovery Plus. It sucks ass. It's literally a group of hunters hyping up trying this hunt that they're doing for these cryptids in the Appalachian in Appalachia, and they make these Scooby-Doo-esque traps in real life.
And not just for the rebuilding of
structures.
Machines.
They're just so simple and stupid that they never work. And they obvious a lot of the stuff they do obviously fine looks obviously fake. So since it's about Appalachian cryptids, I've been listening to it. Because a lot of the monsters in Appalachia and Fallout 76 is actually Appalachian cryptids. And monsters, per se. For example, the Mothman. Everyone knows what the Mothman is in Fallout 76.
Not only have I seen her,
but it's based off of a real entity called the Mothman.
She went inside the school.
And it was like this harbinger, warning, some people think it was a harbinger, warning them of this great calamity that happened where a bridge collapsed.
Now, there's no need for violence.
But that was all just made up stories and superstitions.
No one is useless in this world.
The real story is this
with my compliments.
An invasive, abnormally sized snow owl found its way down into Appalachia. And it was twice the size of a regular snow owl.
Well, I'd start.
It had some form of gigantism.
Humanity would be lost. The vault saved precious.
And this hunter saw it, knew it was invasive, and he would need to kill it because it's invasive due to
anything else?
The hunting game rules. If you've noticed a creature that's invasive, you have to capture, contain it, and euthanize it, or kill it, essentially. Because it could pose a huge danger to the wildlife and natural order of things in that area. So he shot it, and then all the sights of the Mothman stopped reoccurring. So he himself, the hunter who pulled the trigger, believes, and with basic evidence, I can definitely say that this owl is most likely what the Mothman was. Considering all the footage that people claim is the Mothman incident, aren't even actually related by any means or correlations to the Mothman bridge tail. The bridge that collapsed. Let alone... Oh, it's this place. I think... wait, nope. I'm thinking of a different place. But yeah, like I was saying in previous segments, the urban exploration vibes of this game is pretty good. I was trying to hear where it was. Oh, if you ask me, the mini games to unlock stuff in a lot of video games is crap in my opinion. I see they want you to work for it, but do I really need to play a mini game to open a lock? Just make lock picks consumable. You automatically lose a lock pick every time you open something. It's the cost of using a lock pick. But I see that the lock picking mini game is to reward people who are good at the mini game, but the whole point of an RPG is throwing certain things to dice rolls. But I can see why they did that, give the player more control of what happens. Like in Fallout 3 is when they started doing it. And I don't blame them, because they already had one of the mini games from Skyrim, and the entirety of Fallout 3 is literally built in the Skyrim engine. And all the guns are actually programmed as magic. In some of the files, they refer to the bullets as different spells. The thing that comes out of the gun. But, yeah. So, yeah, I was talking about this TV series where these guys fail at hunting cryptids in Appalachia. It's pretty cheesy. I would only recommend it if you're watching, if you're playing a game and you want to listen to something. Because it's pretty stupid. But I only seen 2 episodes, and the most noteworthy thing they caught so far was 2 wild dogs. In a drop cage. They built a giant cage, mounted it to a tree, baited it with a live goat, and when whatever creature they're hunting comes near trips the pressure plate, the drop cage drops on them and the goat. But yeah, the hacking game just takes too long, in my opinion. The lock picking is pretty quick, but that is not quick. And I kind of feel like they could easily redo the hacking minigame, or at least speed it up somehow. Make it more puzzly and less randomly generated. And instead of hiding the extra clues you can get, just give them all to you and just remove the mechanic of getting more of them. Because by the time you get, I mean literally, every time I do it, after 4 guesses, 3 guesses, and you don't know where you are, you might as well just start looking for the freebies. But if you're already given the freebies, by the time you get to number 3, you can already continue guessing instead of starting to look for more free guesses and removal of duds, and then have the memory of their terminal forget everything you did so far. You know, all the guesses you made so far, which is, in my opinion, why they shouldn't even have that system. The whole point of that minigame is match the letters with this, guess the correct word, and if you don't guess the correct word, we'll tell you how many letters in that word are correct to the password. So if you put in dog, it says 0 characters. Then it's not, no letters in that configuration is the password, but if you type in cat and only one of the letters matches, you have to, 2 of the letters match, so you put in bat, then all 3 of them match and you get it. But that's only if you're using 3-character words. I also kind of feel like they should lower the amount of characters to try and speed that up. Or just give you all the guesses off the bat is probably the proper way to fix it. Also, I do know you can also get a mild XP boost by using certain interactable things like instruments and beds and the like, but I've said, I think I talked about this before, XP boost when you're leveling in a game like Fallout is just more so a waste of time, and you get punished for it. And that's one of my only complaints. You know, you can't speed up leveling in Fallout 76 because you also remove the time of you getting, the chances of you getting better weapons, which is, probably one of the worst things you could possibly do in a slooter. Instead of leveling, but Fallout 76, I do understand why they had to make that limitation. It's because all the enemies are scaled to the player's level, and you can explore, and the enemies are always at the same, your same level. Also, I keep randomly finding enemies that are just AI dead. And I don't know why they're exactly AI dead. It's not just ghouls or scorched. It's also some of the human ones I've found too. Sometimes they just freeze up. Oh yes, I'm doing the Vault quest.
And breathing Vault Tech. Graduating with honors in the Overseer track. Dad was so proud. Came out even though he was already so sick. I must have impressed the right people because I was offered the next available Overseer slot. I had just graduated.
So,
it was supposed to take years.
Oh, I've also been playing Path of Exile when
I learned that 76
they
was
fixed
going
Fallout
to be
76.
I was so excited, I jumped
So
right out of my chair and did a little
there's
dance
probably
around the
going to be a while until episode 2
Appalachia
comes
would be
out.
safe, no matter what happened.
So,
Evan chose
yeah.
that moment to propose, and Blood did. He knew I wouldn't say no after hearing the news. He knew me better than anyone.
So skipping that. Oh yeah, I think this is where I accidentally went into an over-leveled mission and had to leave. Oh yeah.
So weak.
Oh yeah, the little lore on the super mutants is they're humans that been mutated with FEV. And there's multiple strains of FEV, and different strains of FEV also kind of means that there's different tribes or clans of super mutants. And each of these clans or tribes have their own unique lore, backstory, and philosophy. In Fallout 3 and 4 and 76, they have the superior cultists who believe in that they're the next evolution of humans and that humans must die so they can take over the world. But yeah, I think I'm the correct level. Especially considering I think that guy's running a healing flamer. Now looking at the footage. Yeah, the super mutants have been mutated with FEV. But there's also different tribes and the such. And so the superialistic cultists of the super mutants believe that humans are just no more than food or fodder. But they're more stupid than a person, and that's probably why they're racist. Is because they see the smarts of humans as stupid, because why settle things with brain when you can do so with brawn? But there's also the pacifist cult. Well, no, not cult. To be more correct, they're called the Old Ones. And they appear in Fallout New Vegas. And they are the first true super mutants. and they're not horribly disfigured or anything. Their minds are also pretty much intact compared to your usual super mutant. And in Fallout New Vegas, they also expand on a lot of the, well, cults, species, race of super mutants, as well as a couple of different religious cults and thinkings and philosophies and cultures of super mutants. And it's also pretty interesting because it shows that the super mutants still have some level of human intelligence and individuality.
If at all possible, protect and repair them.
So yes, repairing the turrets, putting things together, but oh yeah, there was this, there are actually a couple of different religious groups in Fallout New Vegas. I think there's also this one guy who is sort of a new cult, cult leader of a new movement. I forget the name of it, but essentially he sees that humans all the pre-war technology is damnable because all of this technology led to the destruction of the old world, but the birth of the new one. And if you don't want the new world to go up in smoke again, ending it, most likely once and for all, you have to destroy the technologies of the damnable technology of the past and not repeat it. So they tear down pre-war technology and rebuild it into something else and reinvent it. But, yeah, when you go in the lore, it's pretty interesting. They also have a new race of super mutants called Nightkin, which I don't know are in this game or not. And they're addicted to stealth boys. And they will do anything for them. They're also invisible. They can become invisible once they eat a stealth boy. But they're addicted to it, meaning they have withdrawal symptoms that makes them more erratic and stupid. So, as well as more reckless, they want the stealth boys so they can think better again. And their skin has been, mutated and changed into a sort of bluish black. And that's one of the reasons why they're called Nightkin. But, some of the enemy designs, I will have to say, are vast improvements and a mixture of variety and the such. Oh, this here is my T40 quarter set. I'm trying to figure out how to get into the power armor. I eventually realized I can get into the power armor, but I have to take out the armor plates because they're too high of a level for me, because I'm too high of a level zone, or old power armor is limited to level 80 or something. The max level is 50, but it's one of those games, they introduce things to you slowly. The max level is 50, but after 50, to my understanding, items just get better. You don't get better. And that's one of the reasons why leveling faster is not better, because you just miss more opportunities where you could have gotten stuff like power armor and other tools. Oh, and I think we finished it? Ah. Oh yeah. This is in the beginning of the video too. He gives me a gift. Takes me a bit to figure out how to receive the gift. Because I didn't know the basic how to get it type thing. In this game, they just you can just drop it on the ground. Someone else can pick it up.
On the ground, pal. No, you just can't take this one. It's food and water only. Do you need stimps?
Ah, yeah. So, yeah, pretty much. This is also, I think, the first guy who actually spoke. And, oh, if you see me in game, I might, I actually will have mic, but I might not be able to record my own voice.
Here is also some stimps, guy. Enjoy, man.
And I'm going to say another thank you for that back there. So, the super mutants are also one of the only enemies in the game to have domesticated pets and creatures. In Fallout 3, they had these things called centaurs, which were unholy abominations of just throwing random things in a box with liquid FEV, just to see what kind of monstrosities they would make. And centaurs are monstrosities nonetheless. Fallout 4, they sort of removed mention of centaurs because, you know, each different area had different experiments going on with FED, so not everywhere could have centaurs. So they, in Fallout 4, they had mute hounds. And I think in Fallout New Vegas, I don't think they had any non-robotic pets. The only one that comes to mind is one with a robotic pet. And a couple of super mutants had other super mutants as a pet in some capacity, but there wasn't really any that had pets or hunting creatures like in previous Fallout games. Also, the same thing goes with the Deathclaws. There's also regional variants of them. They're not sentient though, but they're one of the more iconic creatures in the Fallout games. And also the most memorable because practically in all the games, no matter how high of a level you are, they can just still easily disembowel you. And gut you, kill you, and then eat you, and then cause you to reload a previous save. Well, it appears that I'm looking for my inventory. Let me fix that. Alrighty. Another mid-recording cut there. And I'm, while doing some more of the urban exploration on my way to a quest site. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this is where I find out I'm low level for this area and I have to leave. Also, in the later bits of the 24 hours, I found out casual teams that are pretty overpowered for leveling purposes, because some of the early charisma perks are actually pretty good, like giving you armor points for having allies in your party. Yep. Not getting any of that back. Oh yeah, I was going to try and do the side quest in the water park up there near the alligator. But nope, got my ass kicked on my way there. You know, I kind of hate the fact that you can still hear the thirst sound effect when you're dead. It's getting pretty late in this recording session. So essentially I'm trying to figure out what I should do and what I can do. Because in the early game there's very few story quests. There are a lot of side quests. And a lot of the side quests with stories, yeah, there's so many. There's your generic side quest. There's your daily side quest, which can be repeated every day. And then there's your story quest, which helps you progress towards the end game and helps introduce you to the game. And then there are side quests with stories built into them.
Evacuate civilians and take down those supervisors.
Complementary to the factions in the game. And from my understanding, a lot of the factions are actually technically locked off to the players. Oh, I think that guy was trying to give me a gift. Yeah. Sometimes the quest compass is a little confusing. You know, it pointed into that building, but when I went in, it started to point out of the building. Also, I'm rocking a legendary lead pipe that does 50% extra damage to ghouls, because I just happen to be fighting a lot of ghouls lately. And yes, I did rant earlier in this video how weapons like this one is one of the most worst unless you meet the criteria. And how it's just a waste of possible mods that could be rolling on a weapon to make it good. In my opinion, if you have a random mod system that isn't all about grinding till you get the one you want. You know, for example, in survival games like Minecraft, I can see why you would want sometimes want a situational item, but for practicality, returning to normal operations after you just explode. So yep. You know, something I have noticed in the recording of this and playing it, it actually looks more blurry and dirty than Fallout 4. It also kind of looks more pale and a little more gray in some places as well. Also, I hoped Bethesda would learn their lesson when it came to anything that applies a filter to the game settings. You know, the reason why Fallout 3 looks so green, so sickly green, it's because there's actually a filter overlay on your character's vision that makes the world have a sickly green tinge to it. to try and make it look more radiated. But what it actually does is just make the game look a little more blurry, greenish, crappish. Same thing with Fallout 76. Oh wait, no. Same thing with Fallout New Vegas. They wanted everything to look pretty desertous, so they put a similar filter on the player's vision, but with brown instead of sickly green. But it just made everything look more dull instead of vibrant. And then Fallout 4, they learned their lesson, but they decided to compromise by giving the player, making the player's Pit-Boy light up with a greenish tint. And considering the only flashlight you can get in the game for non-power armor builds is the Pit-Boy, you have to be fucking kidding me. It puts a sickly, pukish, greenish tinge on everything. How do you expect dark areas to look nice with a sickly green light? Oh, it's also somewhat hard to see with the light on. And sometimes I've noticed whenever you load or unload into an area, your light is defaultly toggled off, but it's only randomly and sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't toggle off. And when it does toggle off sometimes, you don't notice it toggled off because the light coming off of it was so green, it made it blend in places. But I usually keep my Pit-Boy light on, despite how much I hate it, because I know from just people complaining about it on their YouTube videos that YouTube is notorious for reducing the brightness of videos to such a degree if you yourself don't add extra brightness in some areas in the videos. They could appear pitch black on YouTube. But, yeah, so sorry if I haven't been talking, mostly because it's pretty late, and I only get the time to record the audio on this when it happens to be pretty late on Mondays. Because every other time I can record, I have to go to work, and just so happens this is the only night I can record with silence in the house. And it's also one of the reasons why I don't record audio when I play. Then I tend to binge play a lot, and I cut out things I feel like need to be cutting out. You know, the whole point of Let's Plays is for people to see how their game could look like if they play it the correct way. So you always want to edit out item management, but considering Fallout 3, all the Fallout games is mostly item management and resource management and inventory management. Hell, practically every Bethesda game is an inventory and resource management game. So, the only way some of these games could actually get by that is well, actually, some of the only ways you can remove it, because it literally takes up a huge chunk of playtime in a lot of the single-player games, was just to say fuck it and make the carry weight infinite for a mod. But I kind of don't like to do that myself, because part of the game is inventory management and strategies of how to do so. And to me, in all the single-player games, where every resource could be useful in some manner. If you ask me, if you're not playing Fallout, any of the Fallout games, as a miser, a character who always makes more money than what he spends at shops, you tend to collect a lot of caps by endgame. In all the Fallout games besides 4. Mostly because in Fallout 4, you can buy resources to help you, or, that and all of the junk you would normally sell, you can't sell it because the vendors won't even give you an entire cap for it. Like, for example, for 10 pieces of scrap metal, they'll give you 1 cap. Which, in my opinion, is too low of a commodity exchange, considering how worthless a single cap. Alrighty, I'm back from a miniature break a couple of weeks later from the previous audio recordings. And if memory serves correct, this clip's almost over. Yep, there we go. Oh, this one! Yeah, I had a hard time with this little side quest. It kept telling me to go to one place with ghouls and collect something off of them, but ghouls with that item wouldn't spawn in this area. So I tried everything to try and get this item that you need to spawn off the ghouls for a couple of hours, so I had to cut most of it out. But, and in between the last cut and this cut, I found a security baton.
And I think, yeah, and the other item I needed was a fuse, which I could get infinite amounts of if I go to this one place once a day. And the reason why I know this is because for some reason I have 50 of them in my inventory. Ah yes, the Snarlitzer. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Snarlitzer, which is something that Walt Disney made for his theme parks. They're tiny howitzers that shoot smells instead of ammunitions. Yeah, Main Street in Disney World smells like homemade chocolate chip cookies freshly pulled from the oven. I never been there myself, but I watched enough documentaries on the place to know that Walt Disney was probably one of the best engineers in the history of humans, with how creative his stuff is, not from how useful his stuff is. Hell, for the longest time, he had this infatuation with monorails for a bit. And how they were the most efficient train you could use. Because it shoots air out to send it across anti-grav magnets. And it used very little electricity, didn't use any gas, and it was fast and cheap, and he was trying to get the his local town to adopt a monorail instead of tram buses. Trolleys, that's it. And the reason why trolleys sort of became more prevalent instead of monorails, despite Walt Disney's attempts to try and get people to realize monorails, they're going to be as useful and more efficient than trams will ever be. And a monorail you can put above the road, so it's not taking up traffic space. A tram or trailer, tram, that's it, has to sit on the road and have high voltage wires attached to it so that it goes everywhere it goes. So these trams were much more expensive to install, upkeep, and installing them wouldn't solve the traffic problem, it would just add to it. A monorail, you could literally just put it off to the side, above the road. It doesn't interfere with traffic, and it's also cheaper to install and maintain. There was one guy who worked on the monorail, and he had an interview done. They literally made a mini documentary all about the monorail, and how Nixon just fucking loved it when this one time when Nixon got on the ride without his bodyguards, and he actually paid the driver hundreds of dollars just to go more laps around the track, because every time the train went into the station, by the station, all of the policemen, bodyguards would try to swarm and seize the monorail. And it was some of the funniest shit Nixon has ever seen. And
Yes.
yeah, there was also this one time the monorail sort of exploded. It did that a couple of times actually, but the thing is, the reason why the monorail didn't actually get sold by Walt Disney to the city was because the city goes, "Oh, why would we want an amusement park ride as a public transportation system? You're fucking insane if that's going to happen." But the amusement park ride is based off an actual real train called the Bullet Train in Japan. Nope, don't care. It's a amusement park ride. You can't tell us otherwise. You have one, don't you? Yeah, that's a monorail, yes. It's also an amusement park ride. Why would we use that as transportation for the city? And then Walt Disney hired a couple of private investigators, and they found out everyone in the government at the time actually had big bucks and money in the tramways. So by investing into stocks and then investing back into them as a government exclusive deal, they could make more money off of artificially inflating the stocks. After they made a monopoly on public transportation, then they take all the stocks, bankrupt the company just before it's about to go bankrupt, and walk out the door billionaires, and have the protection of being a political government figure. Yeah, it's pretty odd. Yeah, it's one of the biggest scandals that Disney was actually somehow a part of. He was trying to stop the scandal. Yeah, and the monorail exploded a couple of times. Mostly because the motors that powered the wheels on the powered the monorail weren't actually built for a certain wattage. So, and how you controlled the speed was you put more chutzpah through the motors to make it go faster. But the catch is with that, you can't go above a certain threshold or they explode. And it took them a couple of tries to figure out what maximum throughput was, mostly because it wasn't in an American measurement of electricity, it was in Chinese. And American electricity runs in a different interval than European electricity and Chinese electricity. That's one of the reasons why when you plug something in a different country overseas, you have to have a very special adapter. For example, the UK region plug adapter for an American plug adapter. Mostly because in Europe, they designed their electricity to be safer than American electricity, but Americans couldn't make theirs safer because a lot of the
infrastructure is already built around the existing electrical systems that were already installed. So all the products just run off American electricity. You can't take an American vacuum cleaner and expect to use it exactly the same as you could in the UK. Mostly because of the timing belts, because part of the timing is completely based off of the intervals of electrical ion disbursement. And it's pretty noticeable if you have a tape deck or an antique wire recorder. European electricity is actually slower in the interval number than American electricity for safety reasons. So if you take anything from America and just plug it into an adapter, it may not work 100% of the time like a tape deck, because its timing belt is synced to how fast the electricity is. So you're going to need to open it up and make the timing belt thicker or shorter, or just do the simple redneck method, and that's to just put tape on it, a couple of layers of tape until it works good again. But yeah. So yeah, interesting little factoids like that. But that brings me to Nuka World and what my thoughts are on it. I never gotten that far in Fallout 4 at all. But if you asked me, Nuka World, from the content I've seen in it, shouldn't have been a DLC. It's literally actually very small. And it adds a new way to play the game as a new faction known as the Raiders. But if you're using an old save before this was implemented, if you side with the Raiders, the Minutemen will hunt you. And Preston Garvey will become your #1 assassin. So, at level 30, go side with the Raiders. All your settlements become your enemies now, because you're a Raider. But Raiders have the unique ability of having a completely different dynamic. Raiders don't like to do work, so they enslave settlements to do all the work for them. And that's the whole idea with them. So as long as you keep them drugged up, fed, and watered, they're fine. They're happy. It's easier to care for than regular settlers, considering that you also still have to care for your regular settlers. But you don't need to care about their happiness stat. But then later, if you didn't meet Preston Garvey in the Minutemen faction, before you go to Nuka World, and became the King of the Raiders, you could actually meet Preston Garvey with a secret dialogue tree, pretty much stating, you're in a bad crowd, how about join the Minutemen and help us hunt the Scourge you are a part of? And if you say yes, you get to do it. And I think just adding this secret layer to the game,
It's literally another layer of the game. You build all these raider settlements the entire game. You know all their weaknesses and their strengths. And you can help the Minutemen by exploiting those weaknesses and destroy the settlement. And then take it over for the Minutemen instead.
Password accepted. Welcome,
But,
applicant,
yeah.
to the Hornwright Industrial Hiring System. Please insert your
And
resume into
the reason why I
receptacle
don't
or
feel like
else.
it should have been a full DLC
Take
is
out
the map they
senior
also add to the
executive
game is
exam.
actually
You've
pretty
got what it
pathetically
takes to be
small.
part of the Hornwright team.
Literally the biggest thing in that entire DLC was adding a handful of new companions that you can only
Hanover,
keep
this is
and
Daniel
have
Hornwright.
if
I
you're a part of the
presume
Raider
you've seen
faction.
to it that the technology support
And
group has updated the
the
senior
ability to
executive
summon
exam
raiders
for
if
their
you're a part of the Raiders
I'm growing
faction.
weary of the spineless executives you've been sending me.
And
You find me some candidates with the wherewithal to
the
survive.
ability to make Raider settlements, but only if you keep the part of the Raider faction. But if you're a part of the Minutemen faction, which obviously if you've played Fallout 4, obviously the very first mission in the entire game is to go meet Preston Garvey and become part of the Minutemen. And if you play the Minutemen all the way up to level yourself up to level 30 and built all those settlements like a noob, when you get to Nougat World, it's just giving you an alternate option for content you technically already invested too much goddamn time in, and expect you to undo all that progress to start up in a new system. Or completely forego the first system and just go straight to Nuka World at level 30 and then take over the Commonwealth. But if you ask me, when you add something to the game, it's not supposed to take away from an existing system, which is hard to do when you're working with factions. And the other thing is how all the previous Fallout games went around this is they had factions and Pacific maps. And hell, Far Harbor DLC I haven't played actually got this right. It adds new factions to the game, but they don't interfere with the mainland unless you take the companions out of Far Harbor and bring them to the mainland. And yes, there are interreactions between some of the previous factions from the mainland that can occur in the Far Harbor DLC. But going these routes will actually take away the ability to play the fucking DLC. And that's one of my gripes with Fallout 4. It just didn't know half the time what it's doing with its fucking DLCs and interacting with the main game. Every other Fallout game DLC kept it simple. Oh, look. Old World Blues, one of the best DLCs ever made for a game, arguably, did this right. It actually introduced 2 factions. No, 3 factions in my opinion. The Think Tank, Dr. Mobius, and all the pets he can find, like Muggy, the robot addicted to mugs. And the voice acting is phenomenally good. Oh, I just heavily recommend you go buy Fallout New Vegas and all of its DLC just so you can play Big Mountain.
and experience old world blues. And hell, get every ending in the game for that DLC. I heavily recommend it. One of them is this toaster. That's a psychopathic serial killer becomes the new god in the world of the dead world. Yeah, I heavily recommend it. It's pretty fucking hilarious. So, yeah, Far Harbor and Nuka World, that's the main topic here. In my opinion, it should have actually been an update to the base game, and you could play its content at level 1 if you choose to, and allowed you to have a new spawning condition. Either go straight to the Minutemen and partner up with them, or go straight to Nuka World and partner up with the Raiders there. But the thing is, the best DLC of Fallout 4, in my opinion, is the robot one, where you get to make your own robotic companions, customize them to however you want it. But they're all based off of presets that already exist in the Fallout universe. Like Assaultron, Robobrain, so on. So, yeah, Nuka, but the other thing is Nuka World is heavily based off of Walt Disney in a way, combined with Hershey. Milton Hershey. Yeah, so they're both kind of Nuka World's based off of those two, and Coca-Cola as well. But the theme park is completely based off of a mixture of Milton Hershey, and the founder of Nuka World is based off of somewhat of Walt Disney. Okay, back into this. Oh yes, this place. This place is probably one of my favorite little self-contained quest zones. Oh, that, and at the end I get a free suit for power armor. I don't know what a noob can do with power armor this early besides just complain that they can't use it. Have to be level 100 to even think about wearing power armor. Or at least all the power armor I found. Yep. So, yes, oh, by the way, as of recording this audio segment, they fixed the bug that causes Fallout 4 servers to crash randomly. I think they did. I played it for an hour straight the other day and it was working fine. But one of my only complaints with all of the Fallout games is building navigation. You know, you can't pull up the map for the building or local area because it's usually multiple floors and they only have one layer on the map. So it can tell you the adjacent area where it is, but not how to get to that particular floor. So, I end up, whenever I play Fallout 4, I end up just getting vans
to make it easier to explore buildings with quests hidden in them. But, yeah. So far, I feel like the game's playing fine. And oh yeah. Well, a game I heavily recommend for people to look into is a game called Bastion. It's probably one of the best commentated games I've seen in a long time. That's saying something. Yep. Also, yeah, this little quest here is mostly fetch quests, but Bastion, the best way to put it in the easiest terms I can, would be a isometric, non-RPG Dark Souls. It's not a traditional RPG. It's sort of a mixture of bullet hell and Dark Souls, and you can make loadouts. And it's one of those games where the commentator has a commentary for everything you can do in the game. Also, it's also one of those games that you can't go too far off the beaten path, but exploration is allowed. You know, it's not like Stanley Parable where you can just ignore what the narrator's saying. You won't go anywhere in Bastion, but the whole point of Bastion is that it's actually pretty good as a puzzler combat game. Literally, it's one of the most fluid melee combat games I've played. I never played Dark Souls, but I have played Beast Hunter, Portal. I mean, Monster Hunter, Portal. But yeah, that's also a pretty good one. Probably one of, about the only problem I have with, Bastion is the music. The music's so good when you're playing the game, but all the sound effects and even the narrator is a huge part of the sound design in that game, and in some sections, the narrator has a little ditty or poem he sings over the music, which is not present in the soundtrack version you can buy. But yeah, I heavily recommend looking at it. Hell, and it's also one of those games you want to play it with a good set of headphones. Hell, I might even make a video review on it someday. Probably when I'm done with this project. Yeah, it takes a long time to get all the footage and set aside enough time to make commentary. Hell, I think we're halfway in the video I've recorded for episode 1, and so recently enough has happened in episode 1 to warrant filming. Hold on. So yeah, sorry about that. I just realized I could have sped this up by 200% up to this point to cut down the overall total time I have to commentate and skip some things. But yeah. So far in what I think about let's continue talking about the Fallout series. One of my only complaints in this game is that there's no companions. Literally, a huge part of Fallout was companions. You gotta go on an adventure with this handmade NPC. Hell, if you ask me, I think Fallout 4's companion system was literally worse than all the previous companions. Any of the other Fallout games, it's like a step backwards. And in Fallout New Vegas, you get companions. And one of the things they do with companions, you can have one pet type companion, or in Fallout New Vegas's case, one robot or pet robot, and any human companion in the game. So
detected. Distance 1 meters. 800
meters. I found another set of keys. 45.
Mother load.
Oh, it's almost a complete set.
Connection complete. Repair systems engaged.
That's the most complete one I've seen so far.
Nominal. Repeat. Status nominal. Initiating breach procedure. User, stand clear.
And the thing is, I'm trying to pick this up before someone else does, so I can put it in my inventory and save it for later.
Priority materials deposited in docking station. Motherload 003.
Because that's everything. I'm playing this game thinking 5 steps ahead. I can just take this power armor. I have to claim it first, and then I can pick it up, put it in my inventory, and then stash it later. And yeah, so far, that's my only complaint with the power armor system. So you can put it away, but finding a new suit of power armor, especially when you're a new character, sucks. Because now I have to drive this thing, so I have enough carry weight to carry all the power armor in my inventory without breaking my leg. So, yep. I think this video in its entirety might be 8 hours. So yeah, I'm actually doing the audio recording as I do the final edit. Oh, this is the part where I realize someone's trying to give me oh yeah. Yeah, I cut the majority of this interaction out. But yeah, I already mentioned that earlier in a segment. Yeah, I remember there being like this third person that gave me something, but they were trying to give me something when I was AFK at my base. And they shot down one of my walls after setting off so many hand grenades that they destroyed half of it by accident, and then they just left with the bag of goodies on the ground. including resources to rebuild my house. So I don't know who did that. But I got your gift. Oh yes, this is when I started to do casual parties, because apparently the charisma stats bonuses for damage resistance per per person in your party is pretty overpowered when you're new, because you don't have any good damage negating armor. And we're essentially exploring, I think, the fair. So I decided to speed this part up because I have a limited amount of time to commentate today, and hey, this is the last video segment that needs commentary on it, so I spread it up by 1/3, let's say. So, yeah, I mostly looted this carnival. I mean, this fairground. It's not, I don't think it's a carnival. Those are usually cheaper and more skimpy. Wait, yeah, this is a carnival. No, it can't be. Half the buildings have foundations and doors. Fairground, more likely. All the carnivals I've been to in my little area, everything's easy to break down, and half of it's actually reused one room trailers. You know, camping trailers. But if you need plastic, come to this park, because every cup, every plastic straw, every lid, every plastic fork is equal to one plastic. And there's a fuckload of these all over the place. So yeah, if you need plastic, come here. Also, apparently, you come here if you want easier leveling legendaries, too. Because that's what I did. I also needed a shitload of plastic for episode 2. And yes, I did start recording episode 2. I do know I got over-encumbered a couple of times just by picking up all the cups and junk and weapons. Because you need to deconstruct the weapons, get more scrap, and blueprints to upgrade them later. Upgrade those particular weapons later, so you might as well just grab them. So you have a character that can build those mods for another character that doesn't quite have them yet. Or if you're doing what I'm planning to do, which is making a universal build, meaning I can just use whatever weapon I want after investing into the appropriate cards and just swapping them in and out. And I do know there are actually legendary cards in this game that give you bonuses character-wide. And they cost money to change, you know, resource to change in and out from them.
So you can't do it willy-nilly? So I think that now brings us to my player home building. And yes, so scrapping stuff, and I think after that I start building on my player home. Oh yeah, and then I do a quest I picked up really early on, which I couldn't do until I figured out how to make electricity. But I built my base up, and then I essentially bundle everything to go sell it. Yeah, that's what I did. Oh, a little tip. If you pick up ores, they will go in your MISC. I don't know why they go in your MISC inventory, because I feel like, in my opinion, it should count as a form of junk. It's unrefined junk, so that's why it's in MISC. But everything in the MISC folder doesn't take up weight, so no one ever cleans out their MISC slot in any of the Fallout games, because de facto MISC is weightless, because it's literally just random shit you found, like text documents, notes, all of that's in the MISC. But in this game, ore, which weighs 1 pound, can hide in your MISC folder, and you won't know it unless you look in your MISC very often. So yeah, occasionally just look in your MISC if you feel like you're a little too heavy. 9 times out of 10, and from what I found, it's usually because you have a shitload of ore just accumulated in your inventory for some reason. Probably because you picked up a lot of fucking ore. Oh yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I think I wasn't quite done looting that. So, I start building my adding on to my existing base, and I am going to commentate the next 15 minutes to just piss off those people who skip 15 minutes, like the last 15 minutes of the video, to see the epic gameplay. So I do a build segment, 15 minutes to the end of the video, in a funny voice. And then go back into the previous part of the video to see if I actually talked in this voice the entire time. And that's the entire point of it. So, start off with, I decide to replace my, my safety rail with this better looking one. Alright, the problem is, they're about 1 1/4 building foundation blocks too long to completely fit perfectly, unless he finagled it. Also, they don't auto-snap straight. They auto-snap at a noticeable diagonal of at least 5 degrees. That may not sound a lot, but when you're lining up 3 of them, it's pretty noticeable once you get to the end. So now one's lined up, the other one's not. Fuck it. Put the old one in, it's not giving me as much trouble as that. Then I say, fuck it, the other one looked nice. But, hey, it can auto-snap to that. So... damn it, too far. Yeah, this is also 300 times speed if memory serves correct. So yes, so we move this over here a couple of pixels, we move that over there a couple of pixels. Fuck off, I have to, it's not correct. Tear it down, start over. And I hate the fact that you can only place it to see how it actually aligns. Because if you're like me, you end up doing it a lot. And eventually I just say, fuck it, and just use my crafting table as part of the safety spread. It works. You're not going to fall off unless you're an infant. Or if you jump over the railing. But why would you jump off the railing? Unless you're suicidal. Which then, if you're clearly that low in this game, I don't really know why you would do that in this game. When you could pay money to solve your problems. So, I also unlocked the bunker, but the thing is, I didn't want to place it directly in the house. So I had to find a place on my plot. Place it. For it to look nice. Or at least very interesting. So I place it there. It sort of blends with the terrain there. It's invisible enough. It works. This will be my collection hall, where I keep all of my collection. My gubbins I collected over... my collectible gubbins, like little teddy bears and bobbleheads, magazines. Name it, I'll probably put it here. Legendary weapons. Fuck yeah, put them on the wall, mountain level. I'll mount them on the wall over there. Oh yeah, I also started to place lights because it was so dark. And later, I eventually realized it's dark because the emergency lights are on, not the regular lights. And this was a complete waste of resources. So I placed down the engine. And then, after I do that, I find out there's actually a custom generator for the interior that doesn't make fucking noise. I also spend a lot of time trying to power all these fucking light bulbs. But if I placed the fucking generator that was meant to go in the bunker, it would have lit up the regular lights that come with the bunker. I also placed a security door, which I later locked in episode 2. I also, oh yeah, that's the wall generator I mentioned. I also start placing my collection displays. These will display my collections. There's the legendary wall weapon mounts. I will put legendary weapons here. This is the bobblehead display. I will put bobbleheads here later. Always don't forget the welcome mat. And just in case enemies are able to come in here, I'm going to place fuckloads of turrets. And anyone who picks the damn lock on my shelter will immediately become aggroed to these. So if they dare try to steal any of my fucking loot, they'll get fucking bullets in them. I also put some bone chimes here and there to make noises. I put a floor trap to hurt people's feet who walk over them. And it's pretty solid defense considering there's also a lock on the other side of the door. And this door. There we go. Lights on. Everything works perfectly well. Oh yes, I also keep having to change controls because it keeps forgetting the presets I preset. Oh, and I also needed to figure out how to put fucking locks on things. Which I can't because I sold all of my scrap for blueprints for purified water generators and electrical ones. And I can't build any power generators to actually make use of these water generators I placed. So that's an episode 2 problem, which I am in the works of. So, yeah, yeah, it takes me a while to figure out that you kind of need scrap metal to make padlocks for these things. Don't mind that. That's the ghost. He lives in the basement. But these water purifiers won't be able to produce water that can be stolen until I build the power generators to power them. But in order to do that, I need scrap metal. Because I sold all the scrap metal to buy blueprints so I can build these things. So the only lock I can put on them is literally just a push-button lock. If someone is at least level 0 in lockpicking, they can pick the fucking lock and steal the goodies. But that's not a problem for the moment, considering that they're not powered because I sold all the scrap metal to build the generators so I could buy the blueprints that will allow me to build the generators. And it sort of takes me a while to realize this because this is a new mechanic I never played with at the time. And there's a lot of tiny text you have to read. Which in my case, you have to get up and look at the flat screen television 5 feet across the room. So, that's pretty much done for now. Till I get more fucking generators. To power the water pumps so I can get free, pure, drinkable water that won't give you cancers. And 5 different types of mutations, but that's neither here or there. Unless your genes have been finely starched at your laundromat. I also start looking at all the generators I can place down in the game because all of the tiny ones are going to be fucking loud by the end of this. So you can get bigger generators that don't make as much noise pollution and take up less space and give you more power than the tiny ones. The tiny ones suck fucking ass. 3 fucking power for 1 generator. But in order to power anything in this game, you need at least 15 of them. So I would like to make a little bit of a complaint. I feel like the tiny generators should either get a buff or be removed from the game for being too goddamn useless for normal play. I also take a couple of screenshots for the thumbnails and the gift thumbnail of this video. And if you haven't noticed, I've been taking thumbnail photos practically throughout the entire video, most of which I cut out because I remembered to. But now I am committed at this current point because once I make this voice, I can't stop making it and then remake it for within 24 hours. So, yeah, this game actually looks beautiful at times due to the art style. They sort of took a step back from going a little too realistic in Fallout 4 with the textures. And mostly because the engine they're using is completely based off of a cartoonish rendering style. And they went a little too realistic in Fallout 4, which sort of made the game look a little more shit than previous titles. But they took a step back, or they had to make it into an MMO. Because servers tend to go better if they don't have a lot of texture rendering in them at all. Unless it's isometric RPG. Which then only half of everything you see is technically rendered. So they can render as much as they want with the shit you do see. But yes, this turtaway around my base will protect me and anyone who comes here for refuge. And that's about the end of this video, and end of Silly Voice. So, yeah, I had fun so far making this video. It took an ungodly amount of time to actually commentate this, more than expected. Don't expect episode 2 until 1 month I actually beat 48 hours of this game total. But I plan to make this, release these videos and commentate them as I get 24 hours of footage. Here's what I did in 100, similar to Luke the Notable, who did 100 days of Minecraft hardcore mode, 200 days of Minecraft hardcore mode, 300, 1000, so on. And I say that's the end of this video. See you guys next.